Most times when you are being realistic and you tell Nigerian youth that what you are doing doesn't really make sense, they just come up to you and they tell you that you are bringing bad energy to them. Dr. Charles Apoki said something. There's what we call financial orgasm. That means instead of him thinking of having sex with a woman, he should be thinking of financial orgasm, that he can use finances to help the woman and the woman will be satisfied. Because you think that material sometimes can solve the problem of emotion. I repeat it again, Dr. Charles Apoki. Material things does not solve the problem of emotion. A lot of rich men, their wife cheat on them. Most women are actually attracted to the man's finances in the first place. Discipline and principle is not what helps anyone to overcome fornication or adultery. You cannot choose a woman who is already living as an independent woman and you expect to cling with that woman and you guys are going to stick together. No. Hello viewers, welcome to the Man of Thought. Today I want to be addressing an issue with Dr. Charles Apoki. I have no problem with the individual. I have heard Dr. Charles Apoki speak on different podcasts and different platforms, and he has great message for the Nigerian youth. But when I look at certain things about him, I believe that there are things that I would also, as a Nigerian youth, like to address with Dr. Charles Apoki. Dr. Charles Apoki is a great figure in Nigeria, first of all, and I think he's been doing a great work. And some people that would pay attention to what I'm saying, most people will believe that, oh, maybe I'm talking because I want to catch clouds. I want to create something so that we can, have back and front. So for me to promote my channel, you punch up. So if you respond to me, then I'm going to get more views or more likes or more stuff. I don't talk about VDM, give me even one subscriber. I've spoken about Cyberboach, even give me 2 subscribers. So when I speak, I don't speak because I want to get subscribers from certain people. When I talk about people, my greatest topic is to talk about real estate, talk about men and women dynamics, talk about what else? Talk about fraudulent people in Nigeria. I think that's what my show is about. But sometimes when I go through some podcasts and I listen to certain people, I decide to attend to them, listen to what they are saying, debunk it, and so see what is realistic about what they say. So in the aspect of Dr. Charles Apoki, it came up, I think, about last year. That's when it started moving a little bit. People started noticing Dr. Charles Apoki. So what I realized about Dr. Charles Apoki was that he was talking about men and women dynamics, relationship, and he most times used his relationship as an example. And a lot of women are always saying that, oh, you are a great father figure. Yes, he has a great advice. Yes, I think he's making certain important contribution, but I don't think that his contribution are actually going to be able to affect Nigerian youth, because most of all those things are suitable when you speak it out of your mouth, but are not suitable in applying it in today's world. He talked about his time when he was a little bit younger and the rest of it, the way their world was during that time, and comparing it to the world we have today, you will see that the difference is totally clear. So when you are using such message of those time to compare what is happening right now, you will see that things are not being realistic. And what I meant by that statement is Dr. Charles Apoki sometimes, Dr. Charles Apoki sometimes speak about men controlling themselves. And I'm a youth. I always advocate that it is not of any benefit for any man to decide to cheat on his wife. I'm also a married person, and I don't think that any arms of being promiscuous as a lady or being adulterous as a married person, I don't think any of it is condoned. Apart from you looking at it religiously, I think it doesn't really make sense, because it affects not just the relationship between you and that person, but it trickles down to your next generation. And like he said in one of his statements, that he said, marriage is not enjoyable. Marriage is endurable, which is there are times you will be in marriages and you might not enjoy the marriage. Basically, when you start having children, the phase of those honeymoon would definitely be over the moment children begin to play role. And sometimes it's going to deprive the husband and the wife from having time with themselves. But where I think that the problem is in this message is that if you want to make change to Nigerian youths today, you don't become religious in the way you pass your message across, because I have understood one thing about Nigerian youth currently, or maybe I would say youth generally of modern world. Religion and morality are totally two different things. In fact, when you talk about morality, people begin to think that you are trying to dictate for them. When you tell somebody that this is good and this is not good, if you do this, your life will get ruined. A lot of people don't care their life should get ruined as long as they enjoy the moment. In fact, we're in a generation whereby when you speak the truth today to most of them, they tell you that you have bad energy. Most times when you are being realistic and you tell Nigerian youth that what you're doing doesn't really make sense, they just come up to you and they tell you that you are bringing bad energy to them. So they want to enjoy their life regardless of the consequence. And I think what is being blinded is because the message that has been passed since 2015 to the world has always been that you can do whatever you like. It is your life, it is your world. You own the world, you can achieve anything you think about, and all those kind of motivational speech. And maybe there was a good intention why they were passing those messages, but I think it comes up when you are not completing your message, you probably get things wrong. And what I'm actually addressing right now is the aspect of Dr. Charles Apoki talking about men, the techniques of men to get their life in order, for men to understand that sex and this, you don't have to be sexually this and that. In his recent podcast that he had with Glitch Africa, Dr. Charles Apoki said something. He said that there's what we call financial orgasm. That means instead of him thinking of having sex with a woman, then he should be thinking of financial orgasm, that he can use finances to help the woman and the woman will be satisfied. And I think this is where people start getting things wrong, because you think that material sometimes can solve the problem of emotion. I repeat it again, Dr. Charles Apoki. Material things does not solve the problem of emotion. You can have the whole money on earth. And that's why if you listen to a lady they call Layla, I've even forgotten her real name. Probably while I'm editing, I will check her name and put it on the podcast, on my video right now, on this episode. And she mostly talked about a lot of rich men, their wife cheat on them. So why most men are thinking that rich men have the ability to get the woman they want, he made it clear in one of his videos that most rich men, their wife cheat on them. And she stipulated it clearly that the purpose is simply because most women are actually attracted to the man's finances in the first place. You cannot satisfy a woman with financial orgasm. There is no such thing as financial orgasm. And you make a statement, you say people like Dangote and the rest of it, they do not care if a woman is this or that. They are not mostly interested in their wife. They are mostly interested in the business and the works they want to do. That is their own addiction. But there's what we call biological factor, and I think he has passed certain age or certain stage in his life. And sometimes when you exclude certain stages in your life, you begin to look down on those people that are within that stage, because you cannot actually connect and understand them anymore. And this is like a problem with our Nigerian government, that when they go out of poverty, for them to be able to connect back to an average person who is actually suffering becomes a little bit difficult and challenging for them. The same thing Dr. Charles Apoki, who has crossed the age of 35, 40s, or probably in his 50s or 60s, tells Nigerian youths that men shouldn't focus on sexual events with their wife, and let men understand that there's going to be deprivation. And I think that when I mean deprivation, that means there are times that they will be deprived of sex. And I think that he's correct about those things. But if you want to help men to be able to, navigate these particular challenges, I think what you're supposed to pay attention to is to let men understand that discipline and principle is not what helps anyone to overcome fornication or adultery. I repeat, discipline and principle cannot help you to navigate adultery and fornication. And I would like you to listen to my own explanation on it. Now, let us assume that you're an alcoholic and you want to stop taking alcohol. Let's say you have every will in your mind, every power and will in your mind not to take alcohol anymore. But you are in the environment where there are alcoholics. How long do you think your will and your decision and your discipline will be able to deprive you or stop you from taking alcohol if every of your environment in your house you have alcohol and you decide you're not going to take it? It is just a matter of time you'll get into one bad mood and then you find yourself in that situation. So what I propose most times that Dr. Charles Apoki should instigate or add to his messages is for him to also let people know that for you as a man to create an environment or a good family, you need to be deliberate in the decisions you make. If you want to create a family where you don't want your spouse to cheat on you or you don't want to cheat on your wife or something like that, which the best bet you can bet is you. You can't bet on somebody else. And I tell people that the only reason why most of all these things have become problem in Nigeria specifically, that you cannot depend on someone, is basically because we lost culture and traditions. Because when people know the value of culture and tradition, a lot of people would not make the mistakes they make. For example, the kind of woman they choose. I would not choose a woman who is living strong and independent woman. You cannot choose a woman who is already living as an independent woman and you expect to cling with that woman and you guys are going to stick together. No. She already has the mentality of independence. So coming to you becomes if it's pleasurable or not. And in today's marriage, a lot of people are actually going into it to see if it's going to be pleasurable. And the moment they did not get the pleasure they are expecting in the marriage, they tell the women advise other women to bounce away from that relationship because it's not serving the purpose. And it's the same thing applicable. Men also think the same thing, but most men would not show this or would not chase their wives. And that's why they say 70 or 80% of divorce is being initiated by women, because men would not tell the woman that, oh, I'm going to divorce you because of that. Men would only find alternative. And the alternative is they begin to explore other options, because I always say it, African man don't cheat. African man explore options. The only reason why we use the word cheat is we are trying to equate it with the women's world. It is a woman that can cheat, because when a woman has sexual affairs, she always want to hide it. And the only time an African man, which is African boys we have today, or boys that we have today, when they actually, some of them actually cheat because they hide it from their woman. I think in the days of our ancestors, if a man wants another woman, he would say, I like this woman and I want her to be my second wife, my third wife, as long as he has the financial capacity. But in today's world, most men are not competent. They do not have the financial capacity, yet they want to enjoy the things of biology. And so, you need to understand as people that the most important thing you have to do as a person, if you want to be successful in marriage as a man, is to create an environment. Environment, if you create the right environment, it supports your discipline, it supports your principle, and it supports the environment that supports your vision, your principle, and your discipline. For example, I know I'm not speaking for everyone, but I'm saying if you are capable of affording or buying a house, you should be careful where you decide to invest or buy the house if you know that this house you are buying is so that you and your children and your family, you can live together. I believe you are getting the picture. So that you, your family, you all can live together. And if you would live together, what would that environment entail? In 2017, when I was making those decisions in my life, I had to decide a state that is good for it. I have to decide the environment that is good for it. I have to decide the estate that is good for it. I have to decide the community that is good for it. This is something that would affect your children, the community they grow in. Are you looking for people who have the same like mind like you, who have the same vision? Yes, while you are making research, you can do all this research and say, okay, this is the kind of people that I want to stay with. This is the kind of place I want to raise my family in. And as a man, you keep yourself in those places that would stop you, at least that would reduce you having the urge to see women every single time. Because there's this misunderstanding people like Dr. Charles Apoki talk about that doesn't make sense. You say, as a man, you can control your sexual urge. Most people are not aware that once a man's testosterone is very high, he cannot think. There is nothing in this world you can say to his head. He cannot think correctly. The only thing, and that's why when it comes to fornication and adultery, the only way you can escape it is to run away from it. You cannot debate it. You cannot be with a woman who you like in the same closure, and you are having a female friend talking to her, and both of you are in the same room, and you have a wife at home, and you now go and start having female friend, and you guys think that you can stay in the same room and nothing would happen. It is only women that like to believe those things, because they like to friend zone men and they can make money off those men. But as a man, even the ones you think you friend zone, they are thinking differently. If they have the opportunity, they will take the opportunity. When you go to Ikoyi Correctional Center, about 30%, like I said in most of my video, or 40%, are mostly people who are being caught of, what do they call it? Grape. They are being caught for being raped. They grape somebody, someone's daughter, someone's sister, even some people, their own sister. So the testosterone and the discipline of people are different, and you have to create an environment that would not make you have that thing put in your face over and over. For example, if you are in an environment whereby you want to create a good family or a great family, you create a family whereby an environment whereby you don't see ladies who dress naked, because most ladies today, they use freedom of dressing to dress the way they please, and when they dress that way, they begin to find a way to seduce men around that particular environment. Now, if you're someone without integrity, you can get attracted with that kind of person, or you can see that person and you admire. Admiring someone only work in a place because what it creates is the imagination in your head. But when you find yourself in a situation that you would always have a closure between you and those set of people, now you are most likely going to find yourself committing that sin, or committing the act. I wouldn't call it sin. So for us to be able to debate all these issues, for your message to be able to cling to what men actually need to understand in life, you need to let them understand that the problem is not about principle and discipline. The problem is about the environment you create for yourself. And that's the bone of contention. And it's not to say that Dr. Charles is wrong. Only what I'm saying is, if he implements it in this way with the amount of people he has been affecting positively in his messages, apart from them admiring his message, they will be able to apply it. And so let your message also be focused on, if you want to be focused on men, talking about it. Because most times what I see is that some of us, when we want to discuss, because we can have fans easily on YouTube and the rest of it, we talk in a way whereby it cites the woman's place, that the woman will start saying, hey, clap, this man is speaking up the truth. And because the man is speaking up the truth and the audience are growing as he's having more female audience, you start reducing the reality of what you should inform the women about, or the truth that you're supposed to tell the women. You keep it out and you start focusing mostly on the men. And until women know their spot in marriage and to understand that marriage is actually set to benefit them, not to benefit the man, most men would most likely appreciate, in today's world, would appreciate having baby mamas than getting married. But the people who pay the price for being a baby mama is mostly going to be the woman. Unlike the Western culture where they would tell you that you should be paying alimony and all those kind of things, it is not much rampant in Africa. So women should still understand that our tradition and our culture still have a role to play, and the way the African view their world is different. So marriage is important, but if you guys want to be married, you have to be in the best position of your life to secure and to keep the man, not just to get the man. And most people are being told that once the man acts this way, step away, walk away from the relationship and the rest of it. And every other person thinks that is how life is going to go. There's nothing wrong about it. And at the end of the day, you pay the highest price. And what I hate mostly to see is to see single women with children going through challenges of life without having the man to stand by them. And the problem is because most of them are being misled and misinformed, thinking that the way you are before you give birth, you are still as beautiful as that. Your body has changed. The only person that can stick with you mostly is the man is the right man that you decide to choose. So the information should be, how do women select the right man, rather than them selecting any man thinking that they can always move on. Because when the idea is about any man, that is when people start thinking of what we call gender war and saying that words like all men ain't shit, men don't know what they are doing, men are the enemy. But when you start knowing how to choose the right man, creating the environment and knowing what you want with you and your children and your husband and your family as a whole, then the message is actually going to sink in. You can't continue to correct the man and just to say words that will please the women, because then you are actually ruining their life, because now they expect more of the man, to be more disciplined, and they support the idea of women dressing naked everywhere, and they believe that men are not visual creatures and men are not going to respond to those kind of things. And you say that a man who responds to ladies who have skirts or anything that have skirts, that man is a dog and this and that. No matter the thousands of abusive words you use, it doesn't change his biological nature. But if you understand the truth, you will attract, by your own dressing, you will attract the man who would admire your type of woman, because they say you will be addressed the way you dress. And most of you can dress corporately and you in a more traditional and respectful way, and the moment you get married, you start dressing in the other way, and your husband begin to view you a little bit different. But for me, that would always, I think I'll be able to address this in another episode. But I just sent this message that Dr. Charles Apoki, help us while you're propagating all this, your message, to be more honest and generous in the way you pass your message across. We appreciate every of your work. I believe one day when my channel grows, I will be able to also have a chat with you. Have a blessed day. See you in the next video. If you haven't subscribed, subscribe to my channel. Adios, amigos.